If you've watched any of my SuperTrickler videos or Elster, or there's a couple other guys that have done some where they're using these 3D printed accessories, or a lot of the forums have talked about it, then you've seen that there's already an emerging market for aftermarket parts for the SuperTrickler. And I'm going to show you kind of a host of stuff that a particular gentleman in Washington is making. He's just a one-man operation. His name's Lorne. And I will put his contact information down below. He does an assortment of gun-related stuff. So he does carry and can source other parts and components and stuff. But he is in the shooting world and is pretty adept with a 3D printer. So let me just get a couple things out of the way. I'm always upfront with you guys when I get stuff for free. This is one of those cases. He sent me a box of stuff about a month and a half ago. Said, hey, would really appreciate the feedback. Let me know what you think. And so I have a bunch of different items. Some that I honestly don't use because they don't really fit my reloading. And there's some that I've used every day now. And so just getting that out of the way for you. And the other thing is, yes, I realize that there are a lot of people out there that have 3D printers that are very good with them. I'm not one of them. I'm not great with Fusion 360 or any of its counterparts. I don't have a 3D printer. So for me, I find value. This obviously, like I said, I didn't pay for these particular items, but I have bought countless other 3D printed items for my 22 stuff, for my Dylan, for other things, where I'm willing to give somebody the money to do the work. And there's a lot of these kinds of parts that are just never going to get made in aluminum or milled out or anything like that. And I think that the more we see of these 3D printed parts, the better they're getting, and the better the quality of the actual PLA, the plastic is, and stuff like that. So I know there's people that knock this kind of stuff. I'm not one of them, because I really think there's value in guys who can kind of turn on a dime when it comes to making changes and this and that without having to ordering molds and stuff like that. And I think a really good example of somebody who's made a great business out of 3D printing is Adam at SuperTrickler. And he's done a great job because obviously all of his shot markers and previous SuperTricklers and stuff were all 3D printed. So there's a lot of 3D printing out in the shooting world already. I don't think anybody should knock it or be afraid of it for what it's being used for. That being said, let me just talk about kind of two different sets of things here. So some of these are universal. You can use them whether you have a SuperTrickler, SuperTrickler, whatever you have. Maybe you don't have any of that and you just hand trickle any of this stuff. Some of this stuff will work for any of those situations. Some of this is SuperTrickler specific. So let me talk about just kind of the generic stuff first. And so that is going to be over here. So the first thing he makes is just a really simple powder cup. It's got a decent handle on it. It's got a little cutout. I've used it quite a bit. To be fair, I do like the weight of aluminum, so I do use his handle extensions, which I will get into in a minute. But I know there are a lot of people that really like a lighter cup, and this really fits the bill. A couple of my buddies who have the SuperTricklers have gotten these cups, and they really like them. So you can get that, use it obviously on any kind of trickle system that you want to use or scale. He also makes powder caps. So this is for like a Hodgdon 1 pound bottle, and you can screw it on. It opens and shuts. Again, I don't use 1 pound bottles for anything, so this really doesn't have a practicality for me, but I know a lot of guys do, and I think being able to just open and shut it and being able to pour out of it makes a lot of sense. So I know there are people who will take advantage of that, but the one that I really do like is he makes this, and he makes it for a variety of Vitivori, Hodgdon. He makes them for all the different size openings. This one happens to be for my Vitivori, and I'll show you. So it just threads right on. So it's nice and tight there. And then it has an internal lid, which is airtight as well. And I just leave this on. I took it off just for the video to show you how it goes on, but I've been leaving it on like that. It keeps everything airtight, and I can pour out of it if I want to. And obviously pouring powder back in is a lot easier as well. And they're labeled, so in case you get them mixed up or something, it does say Vitivori, Hodgdon, whatever. I only have the Vitivori one, but I really do like that. And then the last thing he makes, which I've been using, is this powder collector combo funnel. And I think no matter what kind of, whether you're using a funnel or something else, I think it's always a little, for me, let's put it this way. I've always been using this Vitivori cup whether I had an auto trickler or my super trickler, I would put the powder in here out of the hopper. I would then take this funnel, put it on top of my powder, and pour everything in. So it was 2 pieces here. You know, when I was doing some testing with the RCBS Matchmaster, which is a bottom powder collector, just like this one is, where the powder comes out the bottom. And I did overshoot on this a couple times when I was first getting used to it, whereas this is a much larger, you know, it's a square, it's easier to not miss. And I do like the fact that if you know, when you're done collecting powder, you can simply turn it up and put it in there. In fact, I will show you, in case you've never seen something like this work. Okay, so if we had our powder, right? So you can see that there's powder in here, and then all you would have to do is simply turn it, and now all your powder comes out, and there's really no chance of missing anything. It is a nice small point, so when you're sticking it in the hole, you're not going to miss it or, you know, risk anything falling out. So there's that. Let me seal this back up. And those are kind of his generic reloading accessories, and he's constantly making new stuff. I think he's got a couple new items, in fact, since he sent me all this stuff, because he just loves tinkering with this kind of stuff and coming up with useful things for people that are reloading. So let's look at the SuperTrickler. The first thing that I really like is going to be this funnel. Now the funnel's just going to fit on top, and it just goes in there like that. It's got a backsplash. There is another version he makes which does not have the backsplash, and in fact it's very similar to this one here, and it has a lid so you can just cover it up so nothing gets in there. So if you imagine this one but without the backstop, and then you can cover it so it keeps it fairly airtight. I still don't leave powder in mine, but some people do. I like having the backsplash simply because if I'm dumping powder in, it's less chance anything's going to fly out the back. And I like that it's very shallow, so that because the way the SuperTrickler is, there's a slant right in here, and if you have a funnel that's too long, you can hit it, and not only that, but when you're filling, you can only fill as deep as the funnel, or as high as the funnel is low, so you can't really fill it 100%. With this thing here, you can fill it right up to the top without any problem, so you got plenty of powder in there to work with. Anyway, I really like that. I've been using it all the time without any problems. The people who just use the funnel, that's fine too. He actually makes a plug to seal that up just to keep things out of it. And you know, it is kind of a big hole, and I don't like things accidentally going into a hole like that. I have a sheet that covers my reloading bench, but not everybody does. And the last thing you'd want is dust or, you know, bugs or anything to get in there. So even if you don't use a funnel all the time, having a plug that fits in there is really nice. So I do like that that function there. This one here, you can see it doesn't fit right, and that's because it's meant to go inside this funnel. So if you get them, don't get confused. Okay, so this one here, I can leave this funnel on and then put that in, and now it'll keep anything out of there. But these are, again, very different items. He also makes extension handles, which I really like. This handle's just too short for me, to be honest. I like the cup, but you know, I got slightly shaky hands, and reaching further in with this, I'm more likely to hit the actual unit. So you just slide, it literally just slides right on, and it gives you a little extra extension. And I've been really, really happy with how that works, because it puts the handle basically right at the edge out here, so I can get in and out and not have any problems with it. So that's really nice. I haven't actually tried. I guess technically if you use one of his plastic ones, you can make it even longer, although it puts the fulcrum really far back and it leans it up a little weird, so I wouldn't do that actually. I just never thought to try it, but I do like how this one sits and being able to grab it in and out, so that works great. For bench rest guys because I know some people who are buying these to take to the range, and even though you've got a lot of windscreen around the sides, you still obviously have space in the front where things can happen. So he makes a full windscreen that sits on here, so you can load and then pull this off and then load, and then pull this off, and then not have to worry about getting an exact load every time. It'll perfectly load, and then you can pull this off and you're good to go. So I think that's kind of a neat feature for people that do that. It's not really my thing because this thing never leaves the house. And then if you want, there is also a windshield here, whoops, which has a port in the bottom so that you can put your cup in and out and have everything covered except for just the port right here, which again at the range could be a very big plus for a lot of people. So I think that was pretty smart. The translucent, I will tell you, in fact, here, watch this. So if I turn this on, you can see it lights up really well. And if I go, let me just go in here real quick. Let's see if I can turn, yeah, so if I just turn this on so it doesn't turn off for you, you can see that it's really bright. Obviously if it's off you can see, but what I will say, when this thing loads and does like the red and the green with this, it pops. So if you're out in daylight and it's in the use of this for like bench rest using out at a range, you would have no problem being able to see very clearly the white, green, red, blue, because it just lights up this translucent 3D printing material. So I do think it's pretty cool. Again, not really my use, but I know there's going to be people who want to use it, and that really gives you a strong case for being able to take this out to the range, especially since the rest of this is all sealed up, which I think is really important. A couple little things on the side. You'll notice he makes a brush holder. This is just double stick tape on there, and it holds the brush if you need to, clean out your SuperTrickler. It seems like the dumbest thing, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I got it and I was like, really? Like, I don't get what the big deal is. I will tell you, I love having this thing sitting here because, there's times where I've got kernels somewhere here or there, and being able to just grab it, I honestly think it's nice, especially because the SuperTrickler comes with that brush, and he makes it to fit that brush. So it's a silly thing, but I like it, and it fits my needs, so I'm happy with that. To give you an idea of kind of some of the things he's improved on, he's made a cap which goes over the large tube in here, and that was so that you didn't, if you were dumping this out or emptying it or whatever, you wouldn't accidentally pour powder out. He has now gone to an internal fitment, which I really like, and it just plugs it, and then you can dump everything out. So it just shows you that he's thinking and trying to come up with better ways to improve everything. And then he also makes a protector that looks like this, that simply snaps over the tube. In fact, you can see right here, I had it upside down. So you can see it snaps right in, and it just protects the big tube so that you're not banging it with the cup on accident or anything. Again, a simple little thing, but I do like what it does, and I do like that it protects your big tube from getting hit. So just little things like that. So that gives you an idea of what he does. It's always subject to change, of course, because it's 3D printing. If he thinks that there's a way to improve something, he's going to. So, just keep in mind that, if you order a month or 6 months or whatever from now, it might be a slightly different system that you're seeing. And, with that, we'll just say we're good to go. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. As always, I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you find some value in this.